Just a quick shout out to the team at Sony Australia for sending me out this Sony ZV-E1 to test and review. But Sony aren't paying me to do this review. In fact, this is just a loan camera that they've given me for 2 weeks. So it's now coming into the end of the loan period. And after 2 weeks of getting out and having a whole heap of fun with this camera, here are my top 5 reasons why you should consider buying the Sony ZV-E1. The Sony ZV-E1 has inherited a lot of the amazing filming capabilities of the Sony a7S III. The 12 megapixel imaging sensor comes from the a7S III, and the Bionz XR imaging processor is the same as the one found in the a7R5, the a7 IV, the A1 and the a7S III. The vlogging style comes from Sony's ZV series of cameras, and the form factor is very similar to that of the a7C, making it an extremely compact, lightweight, full-frame camera to work with. Due to the latest firmware update from Sony, you can now get 4K 120 frames per second, that's in NTSC, or 100 frames per second when you're shooting in the PAL format. When slowed in post, it gives you the most beautiful slow motion imagery. If you already own the Sony ZV-E1, updating the camera is extremely easy. Oh, and to the next person that gets this loan camera after me, you're welcome. Simply go to the Sony firmware website and search for the Sony ZV-E1. Click on the 4K 120p upgrade license and download to your computer. Drag your downloaded file onto your SD card and then insert your card into the camera. Turn the camera on and you'll be prompted straight away to update the firmware. Click OK, and after a restart, you'll be all good to go. And if you search under movie settings now, you'll see you have that 120 or 100 frames per second capability. But just a little heads up here, and I'm only saying this for complete clear transparency, you'll notice on the camera you get this warning if you're not using a specific speed SD card. The safest bet is to be using something like a V90 rated SD card, and you'll be all sweet. Here's a little clip I put together at the nature reserve near me, where the Australian wattle flowers were blooming and the bees were having a feast. Sony have taken the ZV-E1 a step further by really enhancing its autofocus performance. More importantly, Sony added a dedicated AI processor like the one found in the a7R5 that works focusing miracles in many ways. You have a heap of different subject detection modes to choose from, including people, cars, birds, plus so much more. It even picked up the eye on this extraterrestrial. ET eye detect. Now I've seen it all. But seriously, this Sony ZV-E1 is so incredibly impressive for focusing, even in low light situations. It grabs hold of the eye, even with sunglasses on, and sticks to it, just like you can see here in these examples. Of all the amazing things that this little Sony ZV-E1 can do, this is what really blew me away. The Sony ZV-E1 has 2 native baseline ISOs at 640 and 12,800. These are the cleanest in terms of low noise performance in your footage. Walking around at night, even in pure darkness, this camera had no problems in focusing and seeing me. I can't believe this thing. This is just nuts.
I'm literally in pure darkness, and all I've got is the illumination of some street lights. The other thing too, Sony sent me out their wireless radio mic to try out, and I think it's working absolutely brilliantly with this, because I don't have any sort of wires that are interfering with the viewfinder whatsoever, just coming up through a light here. But this is sitting at about 20,000 ISO, and I'm on dynamic active mode stabilization. I'm so impressed with this camera.
This would be absolutely awesome for astrophotography and landscape photography vloggers like myself that do a lot of video at night, dawn or sunset, eliminating any need for extra lighting to be attached to the camera. Check out this scene. It's pitch dark here with only the slightest bit of illumination coming from distant streetlights. Watch as I step through the ISOs. What wouldn't I have given to have had this Sony ZV-E1 in Iceland when I was photographing and vlogging with the Northern Lights? Oh well, I'll just have to go back. The Sony ZV-E1 being a full-frame camera means you can take advantage of Sony's incredible range of lenses. No doubt about it, Sony's mirrorless range of lenses is very impressive. Everything from wide angles to big primes. You're really spoilt for choice. One thing I'd love to do is use this Sony ZV-E1 for birds and wildlife vlogs with the Sony 200 to 600mm lens. Given it has animal and bird focusing tech and the capability now of doing 4K up to 120 frames per second, means I could create the most amazing content with it. Not to mention, with Sony's E-mount, you can also take advantage of third-party lenses from the likes of Tamron and Sigma. Now, I've only scratched the surface in terms of what this little Sony ZV-E1 can do. Other things like the AI-based auto framing with different cropping levels where the camera automatically tracks and follows you in the frame when you're vlogging. This basically eliminates the need of getting someone to help film you. To the improved in-body image stabilization with the added dynamic active mode. Now granted, it crops in a bit on the frame in this mode, but wow, look at the results. They are just amazing and gimbal-like. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope this video has helped you out if you are considering buying the Sony ZV-E1. I'll see you next time. Man, I really need this camera in my life.